Abu Dhabi 2021, the gift that keeps on giving. If you are looking at the screen right now, you can see a picture of Derren Brown. If you're in the UK, you'd have probably heard that name. If you're from abroad, maybe not. He did a programme called Mind Control. I wonder what he knew, and I wonder what media knows about the techniques that they use in order to get the response that they want from their audience. We're going to go through Abu Dhabi 2021, but we're going to take it back a bit because I've gone through the last 5 laps from the moment that Nicholas Latifi crashed with you several times. This video I was going to do about Lando Norris, where he got his puncture, because I'm going to show you that as well, because that is key. That's key to something that the FIA in their final report never even mentioned, and the impact that then was on Lando Norris's race. So I'll have to do another video about that because that is key. But this one, let's just have a look from this point in time onwards. 1 hour, 17 minutes, 35 seconds. Martin Brundle is just about to say there is 12 laps remaining for Lewis Hamilton at this point. 12 laps remaining. So let's make this full screen and let's have a playthrough and listen to Martin Brundle and David Croft. Been taking tips off Derren Brown, have you, for the mind control?
With a dozen laps to go and nearly 14 seconds advantage, he was told by his engineer he's got to be 0.8 a lap faster than you to catch you. He's nowhere near fast enough in that respect. Is Max?
So with 12 laps to go, Max isn't catching Lewis. Okay, firstly he's got to catch him at a second a lap, then he's got to find a way past. Bearing in mind Max is on hard tyres now. He got them hard tyres changed when he pitted under the virtual safety car, but they're still going to be old hard compound tyres.
Just happened at the moment.
Now, once again, Red Bull are looking for something beyond their control to try.
Once again, Red Bull are looking for something beyond their control. Red Bull are looking for something beyond their control. When was the last time you listened to an authentic sport and had the commentators say anything like that? There's a football game. Manchester City are playing Arsenal. Manchester City are winning 3-0. The commentators say, oh, Arsenal are now looking for something beyond their control to get them back into the game. Really? Rather strange thing to say, Sky Sports, F1, David Croft, Martin Brundle. Let's just replay that.
Catch you. He's nowhere near fast enough in that respect. Is Max Verstappen at the moment.
Now, once again, Red Bull are looking for something beyond their control to try and help bring them back into this race. They've had the virtual safety car, which has helped. They had that great defence by Sergio Perez, which very much helped, but they might need something else to bring back.
But they might need something else.
Max Verstappen back into this race. You could just see the Red Bull in the distance down that back straight as Hamilton disappeared through.
Who cares? I care about, am I in the process of witnessing history? We're now 11.5 laps away from watching a guy who's already got most of the records in this sport for Grand Prix victories, for pole positions, for... or even that one laps led. He's probably got that one as well, although nobody really cares about that one. But he's on course for becoming a record-breaking 8-time world champion. Are you going to explain to the global watching audience, many of them who are new, who have tuned in on the basis that they may be witnessing history, are you going to explain that to people and set it up and show people that they're in the process of witnessing something that's historic?
The chicane. Verstappen, who's been on the podium 17 times this season, either first or second, is on for another second place here. It'll give him the season record for the most amount of podiums scored, but it won't give him the...
It's an irrelevant statistic in a sport where you're getting more events added each season. Back in the day when you might have had 14 Grand Prix in a season, the most podiums you could have got in a season was 14. So if you do 20 Grand Prix in a season and you get 15 podiums, well, you've broken that record from years gone by, haven't you? Well done you. Well done you.
The World Championship as it stands. Lewis Hamilton on course to become champion as one champion watches on as we talk about the...
Let's just go back for that. He's got the most podiums,
but it won't give him the World Championship as it stands. Lewis Hamilton on course to become champion as...
Not a record-breaking 8-time world champion, just on course to become champion.
One champion watches on as we talk about the other. Oscar Piastri, well done to you. Formula 2 champion for 2021. What a brilliant season that young man has had, and I'm sure we'll see him in Formula 1 eventually. In Formula 1 at the moment, 46 out of 58. We're on lap 46. We're reaching the climax of the season. Hamilton's coming up to lap 3. He's already lapped 1 in the case of Charles Leclerc, and Verstappen's trying to chase after him, but he's just not finding the pace. Ted Kravitz, down to you.
Well, you mentioned Charles Leclerc. That pitting under the virtual safety car really hasn't worked out well for Charles Leclerc at all. He's rejoined behind Daniel Ricciardo and is in a fight with Ocon and Alonso a bit further up for 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th. So not working out well for Charles Leclerc, but it is working out, staying out, the right thing to do for Carlos Sainz in the sister Ferrari. P4 and looking good for it as well.
Yeah, and doing a great job is also Lando Norris, keeping Valtteri Bottas at bay all the way, despite giving away the drag reduction system, both carrying Mercedes-Benz engines, of course.
I will do a video about this because I need to go into detail. Lando Norris is in 5th position in this race.
And after we heard earlier in the race that he was losing gears and having technical difficulties, Lando Norris in a very solid 5th place at the moment. And for Lando Norris, a 5th place that would give him 5th place in the championship. Charles Leclerc out of the point.
5th in the championship. So it's significant, isn't it?
Points, the driver currently in 5th in the standings. Norris could move into the top 5, which he deserves for this season. It's been a really...
He absolutely deserved it. He had no luck.
Excellent season for Lando Norris. Could have had a win in Russia. That didn't go his way. Got a pole in Russia, but he has been on the podium 4 times and leading that McLaren charge.
It says I've got 8 laps on my dash.
Ignore the dash. Ignore the dash.
At this stage of a Formula 1 season, when it's getting that close, any little thing, Martin, is going to be a bit of a distraction.
I wonder if the dash is still set up for the number of laps in the Grand Prix last year. No, seriously.
It's possible.
Yeah, because we're 3 laps longer, aren't we? Because the track's shorter this year.
Mercedes competence.
Yeah. Maybe there's a software glitch in there, something that hasn't been changed.
Well, when you check, double check and triple check everything as engineers and mechanics going into a race, that might be the one little thing that slips by while you're concentrating on everything else. Good spot if it's true.
So Verstappen just took a second out of the lead there, but it's still a dozen seconds. And Lewis then has cleared 3 of the 4. He's got Alonso coming up next. And
I wonder why there's been a decrease of 1 second. Could that be the time lost when you're overtaking back markers? Could that be the situation? Is it that you lose time, or do you gain time? We'll find out.
Verstappen has cleared both Aston Martins as well. Then, of course, he has to get through Leclerc, Ricciardo, Ocon and Alonso.
Fans, well, I was going to say watching, but at some stages, when you're that closely invested in one way or the other, it's very, very difficult to watch.
How many laps?
11 remaining. Gap to Verstappen, 12.3.
How's it, Claude? I'm down to 12 already.
It's just that back marker traffic, Lewis. He's going to have to get through it too.
Hamilton then making his way through the cars about to be lapped. Verstappen will have to do that himself very soon as well. Christian Horner on that Red Bull pit wall.
So, with 10 laps to go now, because they've just crossed the start-finish line to start lap 49. Okay, that was the end of lap 48. That message that was picked out with 11 to go was earlier, and they choose that one to play to the world. 10 laps to go. We're 10 laps away from Lewis Hamilton becoming a record-breaking 8-time world champion. 10 laps away. He's 11 seconds ahead of Verstappen. Verstappen's got to get through those 5 cars, that train of 5 cars that's in between him and Hamilton. He's got to close 11 seconds. He's then got to try and find an overtake. It's not looked likely all race.
I don't know if you're struggling to watch this or not, Christian, but if you were tense at the start, it's probably getting even more tense now with 10 laps to go.
Yeah, you know, the pace of the Mercedes is just too strong today, so Max is driving his heart out there, but we're going to need a miracle in these last 10 laps to turn it around, so
It's the pace of the Mercedes is too strong, is it? Well, both of your cars are beating one of the Mercedes. Both of your cars are beating Norris, but it's the pace of the Mercedes, is it? Not the pace of Hamilton. Thank you for your valuable insight there, Christian. Keep an eye on Norris's orange dot as well, because this happens during Christian's speech.
give it everything, but you know, the clock's ticking.
Nothing you can do now, I guess. It's Max's right foot. It's all that's left, isn't it?
It's Max's right foot. It's been Max's right foot for 48 laps of 58. What's he done with that, Martin? Clearly, not a lot. He's needed Sergio Perez to block Lewis Hamilton off. He's had the benefit of changing onto newer tyres during a virtual safety car that has not impacted his performance in a way that's enabled him to get anywhere near Hamilton. But it's still Max's right foot, is it, Brundle?
He's gained 2 seconds in the last 2 laps, but as you say, he had too much to do.
He's got 4 cars to go through. I mean, he needs some luck from the racing gods, I think, these last 10 laps, but you know, we're going to give it.
From the race, who are the racing gods, Christian? Who are the racing gods?
Everything as we have done all year, as Max has done all year, and he'll drive his heart out these last 10 laps, you can guarantee that.
Would this been a different race for you if Lewis Hamilton had to have given the place back at turn 6 on that opening lap, or do you think?
Incite the strap-on fanboy. Would this have all been different if Lewis had had to give that place back? You spent 20 minutes talking about that after it happened at the start of the race. Those first 8 laps went by, and you wouldn't talk about anything but that happening. Lewis got forced off the track due to Max Verstappen putting his car on a collision course with Lewis Hamilton's car, and Lewis Hamilton had to jump out the way yet again. There's the offence, there's the penalty. Oh, nothing to see here. No penalty. No penalty for crowding another car off the track. Instead, the false narrative. Oh, Max got to the apex first. No, that's not the rules of engagement.
Come the final reckoning, it wouldn't have made much difference.
Well, it gives you more options. You have track position, you've got clean air. So yeah, we're disappointed in that decision, but you know, it is what it is, and
possibly
we're
as
just
low
getting on with
puncture
it.
for
And,
Norris. Possibly
I
as
think,
low
you know,
puncture
in all
for
honesty, they've
Norris.
just had a quicker go.
Okay, we've got that little interjected pit message. Norris's dot. Some of you may have had your eyes on it. It's disappeared from just in front of Valtteri Bottas. He's had to pit because he suffered a puncture. Okay, so let's see where Norris comes out. So you're going to see an orange dot emerge in this pit lane and then eventually emerge on track. Okay, listen out to what you're hearing from Horner and from Sky Sports, but just pay attention to what you can see.
When you look at the pace that they've got on these worn tyres, but still 10 laps to go.
Thanks ever so much, Christian. Lando Norris pits, slow puncture, for Lando Norris, and that forced him into the pits, and well, that just compounds what has been a bit of a disappointing night in terms of technical difficulties. He was doing a super job, but he's been relegated now down to 8th. Bottas up into 5th place, Tsunoda 6th, Gasly 7th. Ted, down to you.
Oh, Lando.
So Norris emerges in 10th after that puncture. Was 5th. By finishing 5th, had he finished 5th, he'd have finished 5th in the Drivers' Championship. His highest ever finish in that. But, as you'll see, he's not done yet. He's still on his way back to try and get as many points as possible to see if that is still possible. But we've got Ted in the pits. Remember what I said about who was the guy that I've forgotten who it was. Who was the guy that was talking about mind control? Oh, Darren Brown. That was him. I'd forgot. Tell us, Ted.
No, Lando Norris. Yeah, it was just if he does. Team radio.
And we've seen Norris with a front left puncture, so just be careful on the curbs.
That's the curbs, that's the thing. You see, Lando's problems were sorted from early on. He was just being told on the radio to be careful about deployment, but that's just an energy recovery, a hybrid system, a bit of advice from his engineers. But these curbs, Pirelli were worried about them coming here because they're aggressive, like they're aggressive in Qatar, where we saw some front left punctures. So has this Grand Prix got a further tyre twist in it, Crofty?
Has this Grand Prix got a further tyre twist in it, Crofty? Has this Grand Prix got a further tyre twist in it, Crofty? I wonder, has it got a tyre twist in it, Crofty? Tyre twist, tyre twist, tyre twist. Max Verstappen on his fresh, soft compound tyres. You couldn't make it up, could you?
Surely not.
Just as Christian Horner was saying, we need a miracle to win the race from here. They angle grinded down some of the curbs on Thursday nights, Friday night, I should say, just to make them a little less aggressive.
So how many cars have we now got in between Hamilton and Verstappen? We've got Alonso, we've got Norris, we've got Ocon, because Norris has already overtaken Ocon. Okay, so he came out in 10th, he's already got himself up to 9th. Then we've got Ocon, as I said, Ricciardo and Leclerc. So there's 5. Alonso, Norris, Ocon, Ricciardo, Leclerc. Right, there we go. We'll carry on.
But sadly for Lando Norris, he's got a slow puncture.
So we think the problem curbs maybe just turn 15, turn 16.
So turns 15 and 16, the final 2 corners on the track, taken at about 160 miles an hour, and then taken, the final corner around about 93 miles an hour.
Of course, we saw this in Qatar, didn't we? In terms of tyres not enjoying consistent pounding. In fact, Valtteri Bottas was the first one to find out, unfortunately for him.
This is Lando Norris, currently down in 9th place. And down in 9th place because on the fresher set of the medium compound tyre, he's managed to get past Esteban Ocon. Lando Norris, who races all the way to the line, especially here in Abu Dhabi after a few seasons ago. He had a stellar last lap in his Grand
A stellar last lap in Abu Dhabi.
Pre-debut season. Came home to finish in 8th place, still racing to the line now.
Normal service resumed now then for Lewis Hamilton, straight back into the one.
And Norris is now up to 8th because he's dispatched Alonso. But normal service for Lewis, he's back into the
26s. Now he's cleared the traffic, and now that Norris is pitted, that means there are 5 cars.
So what we're saying is normal service for Lewis. Lewis is now lapping quicker than he has done for the last few laps when he was negotiating that traffic. Okay, so Lewis got delayed a little bit, having those back markers to have to lap, but now it's normal service resuming.
Cars for Verstappen to get through in that DRS train, as we call it.
Yeah, Verstappen though will get DRS to help him lap those cars.
Oh, Verstappen's going to get DRS to help him lap the cars. So Verstappen's going to do this quicker. Yeah, because that's going to make Verstappen's car fast. I mean, them cars slowed Lewis down, but Max is going to get the advantage of DRS when he gets to lap them. So that's going to make Max gain on Lewis, isn't it? Incredible. Incredible. So them lapped cars held Lewis up so that Max gained when Lewis went through them. But the DRS assistance for Max is going to help Max also gain on Lewis when he has to go through them. Thanks for that, Crofty.
And that might just help him shave off a couple of seconds here or there, but he...
So, yeah, the gap went down from 14 seconds to 12 or 11 seconds as Hamilton was going through that traffic, right? So we're saying the back markers caused that gap to go down when Hamilton was going through them. But them back markers, the DRS assistance that Max is now going to get is going to cause him to be able to shave even more seconds off when Max goes through them. Some things just aren't congruent with reality, are they? Some things just aren't congruent with reality.
It needs a little bit more than that. As it stands, 394.5 points for Lewis Hamilton. He will become world champion. Max Verstappen will...
He will become a record-breaking 8-time world champion, breaking the record that we probably never thought we would see broken in our lifetimes, that of Michael Schumacher, who was long regarded as the great of Formula One. But along came Lewis Hamilton and has eclipsed that. And now is setting records that is going beyond what Schumacher achieved. Ladies and gentlemen, you are witnessing history. Tell us that again, Crofty.
Here or there, but he needs a little bit more than that. As it stands, 394.5 points for Lewis Hamilton. He will become world champion. Max Verstappen will have led more laps than any other driver during the course of this season, but it won't be enough to give him that dream of a first.
Lewis Hamilton on course to become champion, but Max has led more laps. Yeah, historic that is, isn't it, Crofty? That dream, the dream. I dreamed a dream.
Ever Formula One World Championship. We've said it all season long, Mark, this season, but it won't be enough to give him that dream of a first ever Formula One World Championship. We've said it all season long, Martin, and especially this weekend, though. Whoever is champion, both drivers have put in a champion performance all season long.
Without doubt. But if you look back, there's all those little tormenting moments, aren't there? Your Max got wiped out, didn't he, when Valtteri Bottas was playing billiards in Hungary and the tyre in Baku.
Max was unfortunate by having a car kind of be involved in an incident where there was a bit of a pile-up and that impacted Max's race. That was unfortunate. Max had a puncture. You know, Lando Norris has had a puncture there. This race, that's impacted Lando's race. So that happened in Baku. So Max has suffered 2 moments of misfortune.
Lewis, you know, went up in Baku then. And
Lewis made a mistake. Max was unfortunate twice. Lewis made a mistake. Thanks for that, Martin.
Lost some points and just all those little twists and turns that we can look back and that would have made the difference. But you win a championship over a season, not over.
All of those twists and turns, all of those times that Verstappen committed an infringement and wasn't penalised for it, and essentially should have been given a race ban, shouldn't have even been racing come the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix due to the points accumulation for all of his infringements over the course of the season, had he have received the appropriate penalty for each of them offences.
A race as Leclerc gets out of the way and lets Max Verstappen through, but at the end of the day, Mercedes and Hamilton came on so strongly.
But Mercedes came on so strongly. Mercedes came on strongly. Not the guy that, with 4 races to go, had to win all 4. Mercedes came on strongly, had to win all 4 and had to avoid being taken out in 3 of those. Had to avoid getting taken out in Brazil, where Max Verstappen tried to take Lewis Hamilton out to prevent him from winning. In Saudi Arabia, where Max Verstappen tried to take Lewis Hamilton out to prevent him from winning. And what about lap 1 of Abu Dhabi? You don't jump out of the way, there's a collision. You don't finish this race, Max wins.
At the end of the season, as they have done again tonight, and Lewis's pace and with tyres that have been on since lap 14 is really quite sensational now, and just keeping anything.
Tyres. Is there another tyre twist, Crofty?
At bay.
Talk more Mercedes in a moment. Verstappen, when he goes to wherever he goes to lie down and relax at the end of this season.
Talk more Mercedes. What? Right. How many laps to go are there now? How many laps is Lewis Hamilton away from becoming a record-breaking 8-time world champion?
Will he think back to Silverstone? Will he think that if I'd have just...
Or shall we just incite the strap-on fanboy?
Given up the fight that day to win the overall battle, I'd be world champion now, or will that not enter his mind?
I've asked him that a couple of times on camera and he's like, no, I would. In fact, he actually rejoined on that when I asked him that in Brazil. He said, no, I'd do the same thing again. My feeling is, I don't know why you do the same thing again, because he had a 33-point lead that morning and ended up, sadly for Max, in hospital that day.
Incite the strap-on fanboy. He had a 33-point lead that morning and ended up in hospital. There are many ways you can say such a thing, Martin. You could have said, well, rather than yield when an attacking car that was trying to overtake him and had earned the right to the corner, having got more than half a car's length alongside him on the approach to the corner and at the braking zone, indicating you afford that space, so you back out. Max Verstappen didn't do that. Instead, he tried to force the other car to have to back out of that overtaking maneuver, because that's what Max Verstappen does. And in the process, he caused a collision which put him out of that race. He put himself out of that race. In doing so, he lost what well, we don't know what would have been. We don't know whether Max Verstappen would have even made it to the end of that race. He might have suffered a puncture, a mechanical failure. He might have been involved in another incident. Other drivers may have beaten him. But even if he'd have conceded position there, he would have still been in that race. He would have had the opportunity to win that race if you're still in that race. Because if you've just lost the position on the first lap, that doesn't mean your race is over. It means you're in second position and you've got the pit stops, the rounds of pit stops to go through. You've got the tyre narrative. Does your tyres, do the way that you manage your tyres over the course of that race enable you to catch and pass that driver that you're competing against later on in that event? That's Formula One Grand Prix racing. So, assuming Max Verstappen hadn't have put himself out of Silverstone, had have made it to the end in second position, well, there's 18 points that you did yourself out over by crashing yourself out of the race. Or, potentially, you could have even got the win. Who's to say you couldn't have repassed Hamilton later on in that race? Got 25 points. Maybe the fastest lap, 26 points. But Martin says, I don't know why, because he had a 33-point lead and ends up in hospital. Thanks for that, Martin Brundle.
Lando Norris on and up to 8th place after a late pit stop caused by that slow puncture. He's charging through the field. His teammate Daniel Ricciardo moves out of the way of Max Verstappen, then quickly gets back onto the racing line because he wants to try and keep Charles Leclerc at bay, but both Ricciardo and Leclerc out of the points.
So, the way things are going, Hamilton's obviously passed Alonso. The next car on the track will be Gasly for Hamilton to pass, and then Tsunoda. But Norris is trying to chase down Gasly and Tsunoda to try and get himself up to 6th place. And if he does so, he'll be in contention for finishing 5th in the championship again. Okay. But I think Crofty's going to tell us a little bit about Mercedes now.
At the moment, Mercedes on course to be Constructors' Champions for a 8th record-breaking, 8th consecutive.
So you can tell us that Mercedes are on course for the championship for a record-breaking 8th time, yet you've not been able to say that about Sir Lewis Hamilton. You couldn't say that about Lewis Hamilton. So Lewis Hamilton is on course for being a record-breaking 8th time world champion.
Bay, but both Ricciardo and Leclerc out of the points at the moment. Mercedes on course to be Constructors' Champions for a 8th record-breaking, 8th consecutive time. And in a season where the regulations changed ever so slightly, but at their detriment.
So they're on course. Okay, what would change that? What would change that? Well, we'll go through that in the Toto Wolff video. We'll go through that because I think that was cemented.
At the start of this season, it's once again a great recovery because they felt they've been hampered coming into this season by those slight regulation changes.
Wow, that feels like a long time.
Oh no, the blue dot has come to a standstill at turn 14. That feels like a long time ago, doesn't it, Brundle?
Time ago, doesn't it? But yes, Mercedes had an awful pre-season test, didn't they? We thought they would be in terrible trouble come the first race.
Oh no, Nicholas Latifi has crashed.
And you, if you've seen the other videos, you know the rest. I'm going to go and do a video about Lando Norris, specifically breaking down all of the impact on his race, the rules and the regulations of the sport in terms of the International Sporting Code that underpins the regulations, and what the FIA had to say about that in their final report into Abu Dhabi. Because this is often overlooked. In fact, it's always overlooked. No form of media that I've seen has ever reported the impact on Lando Norris's race and his World Championship. Funny that. Funny that. That'll do on this video. I hope it's opened your eyes a little bit. What does it prove? Well, it doesn't prove anything. They'll deny it. They'll deny the notion of that. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Not once did they mention that Lewis Hamilton was on course to become a record-breaking 8-time world champion. But they told you, oh, Max's dream. Max is this. Max is that. Can Max do it? Can Max do it? Oh, Max has led the most laps this season, but it's not enough. What do you think, Christian? Oh, we need some help from the racing gods. We need some help. Oh, Red Bull needs something beyond their control. Red Bull are now looking for something beyond their control. So, is there another tyre twist in this, Crofty? You couldn't make it up, could you? You couldn't make it up. Plenty more to come. If you've not already done so, please subscribe. And if this has put a different slant onto this to what you'd previously seen, please share it. Please help others see what really was going on at Abu Dhabi 2021. This one probably won't be used in the court case, okay, because you can't prove definitively what's going on, okay? You can just demonstrate what did go on. That happened, okay? That happened. Is it authentic? Well, like I say, in a game of football or any other sport that you would actually be interested in and watch, would you see the commentators, would you hear the commentators say, oh, well, that team is now hoping for something beyond their control to enable them to get back into this game. Rather strange, rather strange. Why on earth would you even commentate like that? I don't think that's authentic. But it doesn't matter what I think. All we can look at is, well, that happened. That happened, and it doesn't seem right. And when you add that to the other things which categorically aren't right, of which there are in excess of 40 things that I can evidence using Tracker View, and then the subsequent things that went on in and around this that categorically aren't right, and you effectively have to justify somewhere between 60 and 100 different things that all had to fall a certain way in order to try to validate this. Well, what are the odds? What are the odds? Well, them odds are far greater than this miracle that Christian was requesting. Far greater than you'd have a much greater chance of witnessing a miracle than what actually went down in Abu Dhabi 2021. Thank you for your time.